Hello and welcome to Future of Workplace, a series of interactions with technology leaders on what the workplace of the future should be like. I am Anil Chopra, VP Research and Consulting, CMR, and your host for this episode. Today, we're going to have an interesting discussion around building resilience for a future-ready workforce. Business resilience and disaster recovery plans have usually revolved around data backup, recovery, and ensuring that the business is functional again as quickly as possible after a natural disaster. The current pandemic, however, has taught us that business resilience is much more than that. It's about ensuring continuity in communication and collaboration amongst employees so that in the absence of face-to-face physical meetings, they are still able to collaborate with each other, their customers and partners, beyond using basic emails and phone calls. Now, it's all about ensuring that the new workplace is safe and healthy, so that gives a conducive work environment for employees. It's about ensuring data security, since people can be working from anywhere outside the secure confines of the office boundary. So the new workplace is phygital in nature, which is physical and digital, which enables the workforce to work from anywhere, even if there are massive disruptions. Now, IT plays a key role in enabling this phygital workplace, and technology leaders must therefore use the right solutions to build greater resilience so that work never stops. Many questions come to mind for building a resilient phygital workplace. And these are some of the things that we'll discuss today, and for which it's my pleasure to welcome three very special guests on in the Future of Workplace. So we have Yasir Hanif, who's the Director of Technology at Fine Hygienic Holdings. Hi, Yasir.
Hi, Neil.
We have Jerin Joshi, Head of IT at Oriental Insurance Company. Hi, Jerin.
Hey.
And we have Jimmy Wai, who is the Enterprise Client Sales Specialist, Intel Sales and Marketing Group at Intel Corporation. Hello and welcome, Jimmy.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the Future of Workplace, gentlemen. I'd like to start off with Yasir. Yasir, how has the definition of business resilience really changed since the pandemic's first wave? What are some of the new components of business resilience besides, data backup, recovery, and availability?
Thank you, Neil. It's a great question you pose. And one thing that is for certain is that the pandemic has been like nothing no company and no individual and no management has ever seen before. As you mentioned, companies are normally set up to be able to recover as quick as the disaster has happened. But with the scale of the pandemic and the sheer uncertainty of the pandemic, it has posed a lot of challenges. But one thing is for clear is that the pandemic has proven that we can't predict what happens in the future by looking at what happens in the past. And it's really exposed the fragility of our systems, both locally and globally. And it's driven a different view of resilience in terms of how an organization not only continues to sustain itself or grow or merely even survive. So what are the key changes that have really happened? Now, there are, for me, a handful of areas that a business like Fine Hygienic Holdings has transformed its ability to operate in uncertain times, which is very much looking at a sense and respond, really reading the terrain on a daily basis and redefining the strategy in all of its departments around where the uncertainties are lying and how to overcome those uncertainties collectively as an organization, starting from the very top and reaching the very bottom. This is always forward-looking. So at no point can we reference an historical activity and then understand what we did then and apply that in the future. COVID-19 has really taught us that you really have to continue to look forward and continue to look ahead and drive a change and really stick to that strategy and be able to then overcome any of the hurdles that may come in that approach. Now, this is what we mean by embracing uncertainty, right? There's a lot of uncertainty brings a lot of fear, a lot of resistance to taking risks. And if you've seen, the companies that have really flourished are the ones that have taken the risk, the ones that have really accepted that this is an uncertain time and how can we maximize this degree of uncertainty. Now, obviously, looking at the people, the workforce, on where they work and how they work, especially in the region that we operate in, was something that was very, very new to everyone else. But embracing this change and incorporating it right from the DNA of the organization allowed the company to really drive their organization forward. And the other two last elements is one being data driven. By looking at the data, whether that is in your sales organizations or your finance organizations or in your supply chain organizations, really utilizing that data to drive a risk management approach. Where do we see the risks being? Looking at the data and dissecting it, by analyzing the data, where do we see the next wave of impacts affecting the organization? These are really cultural changes that we are seeing and that we have seen and that we have adopted as part of COVID-19, and it really drives the dynamic prioritization and adaptability approach to an organization such as ours. But many organizations that have been able to survive and grow within the COVID-19 have all pretty much changed their approach and driven this sense and respond practice within their organization.
Well, thanks a lot, Yasir, for sharing that. Absolutely, you're right. I mean, this has required a cultural change, and organizations have become data-driven. So glad to hear that, we are finally entering the data economy where, every organization has to thrive on data, and leveraging that data is essential moving forward. And the pandemic has actually been a catalyst, so to say, although it shouldn't have happened this way, but it happened, unfortunately. But yeah, the good thing is that it has actually led to a data-driven economy. So glad to hear that, you're embracing that. Jaren, as a technology leader, what are your own expectations from technology for building greater resilience into the workplace? Has technology really evolved to a level where it can really meet those expectations?
Yeah, hi everybody. We have pandemic hit us very badly. We were used to work from office. We are in a customer service industry where we issue policy, where we issue insurance policy to the customer. Customers require, banks require printed documents, and regulators and different government entities were depending upon paper. There are big certificates for all the policies. So suddenly, when the pandemic hit, we had to move entirely digital, and we had to move. In a day and night, we moved to a digital platform. We started using emailing the policy certificates, emailing the insurance policy schedules, the Arabic certificate. Everything has to be sent electronically. The electronic usage increased, and everybody 100% we immediately let people work from home. So I see the entire digital platform, the entire insurance digital platform has changed to a digital world. The existing workforce, existing things has changed to a digital platform. And we had enough resources and IT equipments, hardware, software, all those things were there, but little outdated. So one by one, we are also upgrading and updating our devices, and we see in the coming 3 years, we have projected a 3 years plan. We have to, with the regulators are also, the government regulators are also taking updates from us of what our future plans are and what are the digital platforms, heavily investing on security, upgrading our servers, networks, and moving to a digital platform. Our main goal is moving to a digital platform where customers can come and buy the policies and service the customers in a proper way.
Great. So basically, as it has happened in this, in the pandemic time, digital transformation has accelerated, like anything. Like earlier, they were just plans, 4 years, 5 years down the line. Yes, companies will do digital transformation, but it has actually forced companies to really, really fast track the entire digital transformation journey. So glad to hear, Jaren, that, how you have kind of embraced digital and you have kind of ramped up the entire infrastructure to gear up for, the pandemic and make sure that, you're ready in case such things happen in the future, similar kind of occurrences happen in the future. Jimmy, I think, Jaren referred to a lot of, that this moving to digital platform and all that. So has work from anywhere become the new DNA of the modern workplace? How do you really see the workplace evolving now with this entire digital infrastructure that is really, coming into play?
Oh, definitely. So in the past, when we go to work, work is a place where you go, right? So, but today, work is a place that work is something that you do. You no longer go to your office to do your work. Like for myself, I haven't seen my office for more than a year already. So, but I'm still doing my job. So I can see I'm still delivering the same productivity. So it's really the workplace that we have used to be in is forever changed. So what we need to do as an IT organization is to bring the workplace to the employees nowadays. So instead of they coming to the office to work, we need to bring the workplace to them so that they can work wherever they are, at their homes, at their coffee shops, or at the well, in the future when we travel again, at the hotels, right? So that's not only just bring the data and the tools to them, right? This is also because they are at a remote location permanently or for long term. We need to bring the collaboration tools to them as well. So how do we make employees productive, or even when they are not sitting together in the office? That's very important. And then when you think about how they're going to access all these tools and data remotely from their home, how do we make those secure? So security becomes even more important than in the past. So we have to make sure that the data that we are sharing with the employee is secured, the devices that they're using to access those data is secured, the infrastructure is secured, right? So the workplace is really not look like what it was in the past from an employee perspective or from an IT perspective. And we need to, in order to keep employee really productive and enjoying their job, because they can only be productive if they're enjoying what they're doing, we need to create a digital experience for them that is really suitable for their work and align with the type of job that they are doing, right? So different people, different type of job could have different requirements, and we need to make sure we create that digital experience that meeting those requirements. So, and then I see a trend of bringing in also AIs to help some of these situations. Like, for example, today, like what I'm doing, I'm having a virtual background because I'm making this call in Airbnb. But you can see the digital background is not really nice. Well, so you see there will be AIs coming into the client platforms to help improve this kind of collaboration experience, to help employees to work remotely more efficiently, to keep them more productive, and also tools that help them collaborate asynchronously. So they don't need to be present at the same time in the office or in the same location in order to work on something together and create something.
Great. I think good points that you've raised. Data becomes important, and work is not a place you go to, but work is something that you do. Very, very true. And that, the pandemic is kind of proven that we can work from anywhere. If, push comes to shove, we will end up working from anywhere. Yasser, do you want to add anything to what the other panelists have said before we move to the next question?
Yeah, I think Jaren made a really good point that, we're moving to this digital world where digital communication is super, super important. And if we've learned anything over the last 12 hours, especially with the downtime of Facebook and WhatsApp. If you do not have a contingency strategy when you have failures in your key technology areas, it can be disastrous. And as we rely upon technology more and more, it's the strategy is always there. Let's digitize our world. Let's drive business change through digitization. But we always have to err on the steer of caution, and this is where the risk, based world is. What happens if that technology fails? What's our backup strategy? Obviously, Fine Hygienic Holding, we have salespeople, we have marketing people, we have finance people, all in consistent collaboration with each other. If they can't communicate with each other, the sale may not happen at the right price, or the marketing strategy may fail. So one thing that, every digitized program that we put into place, we always consider what happens if this program or this technology doesn't work. What's our continuity process? And WhatsApp was one of them, but it won't be from tomorrow.
No, in fact, you raised a very valid point, Yasser. You talked about sales and marketing. In fact, I think the needs of all the different functions in our organization, collaboration needs would actually be different for different people. HR would probably want to interview candidates for recruitment. Marketing would probably want to reach out to the market, and so on and so forth. So how does the collaboration need vary across these different functions in your organization, when it comes to all these functions? Any insights or examples there?
Yeah, I mean, it's massively changed. Jimmy mentioned it, as we bring the workplace to people, no matter where they are, we have less face-to-face meetings. Now, this also means that people cannot work in silos like they used to. And they need to have an appreciation of how other departments operate and what the processes are being carried out within the other departments, so they can understand where, if they are reliant upon another person that operates in another department, what they are having to go through in order to get the answer that they're looking for. So this applies whether it's HR or marketing or finance. The need to recruit a skilled labor force, the process between advertising and hiring and onboarding must be much quicker than it traditionally used to be. We can't wait weeks or months anymore. It's more days and weeks about getting the right people in the right places at the right time. The speed in which the market can change has also required a more rapid adoption process of new products and services that an organization can provide. Now, this obviously means that there must be consistent communication between the various departments. There must be clear handshakes between the various departments, so they know that where the right ownership of the task is, from one side of the company to the other side of the company. But there are also other things that go back to the first point I made, which is around cultural changes, which is about cultivating empathy and developing a common language that the entire organization utilizes. So when a finance department is talking about a specific terms of reference that comes from top management, a department such as technology or sales have this right dictionary, have the same dictionary that is being used across the entire organization as well. That we consistently as leaders communicate, not just within our department, but cross departments as well. So we set the tone for strategy, and we consistently re-emphasize the targets that we're collectively trying to achieve as an organization. And the last 2 points I really want to emphasize on is celebrating wins together. I think, COVID-19 has, changed the landscape of how we live, how we interact, both at work and at home. It's separated family, it's separated friends. So when you have these wins in your workplace, it's really important that you recognize that it's not an individual winning or a department winning, it's the organization itself winning, which obviously allows us to encourage both positive and negative feedback that allows the individuals and departments to grow as well.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. You're right on the, on the some of the things that you've mentioned around how companies should be collaborating, how various departments should be really collaborating. I think it's important for them to kind of remain connected with each other and know what's really happening. Product innovation and all, it helps in all those, various aspects. Jerin, what are some of your own learnings for, ensuring business continuity and resilience? And of course, if you want to add to anything that, Yasser has said or Jimmy has said.
For business continuity, nowadays, regulators like central bank, as we are an insurance company working in UAE, we directly report to insurance authority, now recently merged with central bank. So the central bank has a different view, the same how they treat bank, they treat the financial institutions like insurance companies and exchange houses, all those which fall under their portfolio has to comply with ISO 27001 standards. We are born to procure the ISO certification, and to get an ISO certification, we should have proper backup business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan. We should have proper investment on security and proper training to the workforce to work at any point of time and point of level. Since Dubai and UAE is an international market, we need to show that level of service to the customers. So we are as of if clearly telling, we are 60 years in UAE, and we are previously also I had told we are mostly into service industry, servicing customers, and we were a paper-based company, and now fully we are digitalized. We are moving towards the digital platforms. We are strengthening our digital platforms. We are moving to cloud services. But we have a future plan of implementing proper backups, disaster facilities, disaster DR setups, continuity plans. We are in the process of going. We are having a big roadmap which we are following one by one.
Wow, great to hear that earlier from paper, you have moved to completely digital, and absolutely, insurance is a regulated sector. So you anyways need to be, highly, follow all the government guidelines to remain compliant and all, but glad to know how you've kind of digitized all, so much, you've done so much of digitization to, ensure that there is business continuity and that you're able to offer services to customers seamlessly. So thank you, Jerin, for that. Jimmy, the workplace as we know it, and we've heard it from the other two gentlemen, we've heard it from the other panelists, that the workplace has, as we know it, has really undergone a major transformation. But things are now gradually beginning to, come back to normal. Companies are calling employees back. People are coming back to work also. But moving forward, what do you think is going to happen? What changes are going to be permanent in the workplace, and what really is temporary now?
Yeah, I think other than changes is permanent and everything is temporary. All I mean is that I think we are not going to go back to what we were before, right? We are on this in a journey together. I don't think this is the final state, right? So the workplace will continue to evolve as we get out of this pandemic, and we don't know what the end state will be, because a lot of tools, a lot of technologies are still in its infancy, and still a lot of things are still changing. I think a lot of companies are still trying to find out what is the best way for them to operate in the current environment. So I think we are in this journey together. We're still trying to find out what I don't think anybody would know what the end state is. And but I think we are all going back to companies. We're not to go back to where you were. We are all going to work in a kind of a hybrid model. So there'll be employees working from home. There will be employees working from the office. We need to, I think, continue to evolve this and see what is the best for each organization or each industry or each type of work. we need to continue to evolve this digital experience so that everybody got the right tools and the right access to information to perform their work in a very productive way. And I think moving forward, as I said earlier, I think we'll see more tools being developed, AI being introduced into the workplace to help some of the administrative things, or help to our employees to be even more productive than they are today, creating a better experience for them to work remotely using video conference and other tools. I think it'll continue to change. I think you will see a lot of interesting innovations in many years to come in this area.
Great. Thanks, Jimmy. I think we'll go with one last question, because what you said really sparks off another very interesting point that I'd like to ask, all the panelists. You mentioned that we can expect many more interesting innovations to come. So Yasser, what does the future of workplace look like to you? Any innovations that you expect will happen? Any technologies that you feel are going to be very, very important moving forward? What's your view?
Yeah, I think the biggest adoption we are seeing is cloud technologies, which means that it helps companies in two fronts. One, they don't have to own the infrastructure internally, which means they don't have to have people that are dedicated on a site looking after servers. The other benefit is that the platforms, the way you collaborate, the technology you use is available anytime, anywhere, as long as you have an internet connection. And this is obviously what Jimmy has really expanded upon, that the workplace can be anywhere now. It can be an airport, it can be a hotel room, it can be in your in-laws' house over Sunday roast. The ability to be able to access your company information, to be your tasks, has now expanded beyond the four walls of the office. And that is, for me, what COVID-19 and the pandemic that we've been in has really driven. That the people who have been reluctant to change in the past have had to change, and have shown that they can adapt and they can acclimatize to new conditions and challenging conditions. And technology has been a big enabler of that. As we've talked about how we've moved into this digitized world, we've shown that the technology has allowed companies to still continue to operate where traditionally they may not have been able to, had the technology not been there. So I do see a continuous investment in technology. I believe most CTOs and CIOs have put technology investment as a large chunk of the company's annual budget for the next few years. And adoption of cloud services, I believe, will be a consistent growth within this area as well.
Do you think the future is hybrid? Considering, I believe if you're manufacturing products, having a hybrid, you cannot have a completely remote workforce. So you do need something in between. Yeah, I think as Jimmy has mentioned, companies like ours will drive automation in administrative or very business-centric tasks. So we will remove the human element from that. But there will always be need for a human or face-to-face interaction. In manufacturing, quality control, distribution, there'll always be a need for a person to be able to orchestrate and be the conductor of those tasks. But certainly it'll be more of an on-demand. Certain activities will be more on-demand whenever you need them. So you'll probably find that we have task force mobilizing in specific areas as and when the business needs. While in a typical BAU process, you may have a skeleton workforce residing there. Yeah, so there will obviously be always a need for physical interactions. So hybrid is definitely here to stay. According to you feel that hybrid would be definitely the way forward. Yes, correct. And it's just a case of the face-to-face meetings now become more valuable. They become purpose-driven, as opposed to catching up and talking about what we did on the weekend. You come to the office for a specific purpose, for a specific meeting with a specific objective that you want to achieve. Right. Jaren, what do you think? Obviously, you're from the services industry where possibly, most of the interactions can actually happen remotely. People can work from anywhere. But what do you think, according to you, the future of workplaces looks like to you? You're on mute, Jarin.
Sorry. The future of workplace looks for us like aggregator business has taken a big ended our industry. So comparison sites who compare different companies has evolved, and slowly we all companies are like as I told, all companies are moving to cloud-based services, and after they are moving towards a highly automation platform, and on top of automation, the next level everybody is looking is integrating the systems in between. Like insurance company, previously, for example, we were giving reports in Excel and paper format to insurance authority. Monthly statements has to be given, how much claims we are settling, we are incurring, the incurred claim ratio, the premium statements, all the GL, the trial balance, everything is being monitored by the government authorities. Now after the pandemic hit, all those setups have been stopped. Nobody is taking paper statements again. No Excels, because Excels won't have a proper. It can be a manipulated document. So they are all looking at integration level. The Road Transport Authority, of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all other Emirates, they have all integrated their servers with our servers, so that when an insurance is booked or an insurance certificate is issued, the data passes electronically to their servers. And the central bank has also integrated their servers with us to push all these statements to them. The AML screening is also being mandated for all these insurance companies. So there is a bigger level of integrations happening between these systems of different types and levels. And new reporting systems are coming. IFRS 17, which is getting implemented in 2023. We have to, all the insurance companies has to run parallel running from 2022 onwards. So heavily integration is happening. So along with that one, we need to secure these systems. We don't know what is being sent and what is being passed. The ports are open. The static API and the servers are accessible between multiple entities.
Yeah, great. I think, Jaren, you made a couple of really, really important points here. I think, one was, of course, that greater automation, better integration between different types of companies, not just better integration inside the company, but integration with external authorities as well, so that data can be shared more seamlessly. So very, very valid point. So yes, absolutely, the future is more digital. There is greater sharing of data amongst companies. Again, data comes back again as a key point over here. But yeah, automation along with the integration, better integration, seem to be two key points that you have really raised, which are relevant for the future of workplace. Jimmy, I'll come to you for the concluding parts on this, on what the other two panelists have said around what you feel the future of workplace should be like.
I think, since I'm coming from the client PC space, I think the client PC that we have thought about before will be very different in the future. It'll be very not the same PCs that we used to see in the past, because of all the things that Jaren and Yasser has talked about. We need to. There are things that we need to build into the PC to fit this new operating model or new working model right? So more things are moving to the cloud. How do we make the PCs working more seamlessly with the cloud? How do we make the cloud applications perform better on the PC, right? You'll probably see a lot more different form factors for the PCs in order to shoot different types of personas, different types of work or job that our employees are doing, to create a digital experience that they need to be productive in their roles. As Jordan mentioned about security, you see more focus on security on the device, on the PC devices. How do we build better hardware security into the system so that we can make the data sitting on top of it more secure, right? How do we integrate other sensors or components or even AI into the PC so that you can make the employees more productive. You can create allows the employees to be more creative, allows them the data to be more secure. So I think that the PCs that we are going to see coming in the future will be very different from the ones that we have seen in the past to adapt to this now, the new working model.
Thanks, Jimmy. I think really great points that you said. And in conclusion, I was just kind of noting down some of the keywords that have kind of popped up that all of you have kind of brought up during your discussion. Automation seems to be a key thing. Integration is another. Security becomes extremely important, because the moment you talk about integration with multiple entities located in different locations and with work from home, that kind of takes the confines of the boundary. You're out of the confines of the boundary of the office. So security becomes extremely critical. Cultural change is a must, because you have to be able to adopt to the new digital workplace. Data becomes very, very important and critical as a key enabler of the business. And lastly, AI was another key technology that I kept hearing from you. So wow, it's amazing to hear all these terms. In fact, some of these terms we didn't really hear so strongly before the pandemic. I mean, we never really heard too much about AI or integration with so many multiple services outside, and this level of automation and cultural change. So great to hear all these terms being used in our regular dictionary now. So that really shows how the future of workplace is really, really evolving. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing all the viewpoints. Before we, we come to the end of the panel discussion now. So now I would just like to hand it over to Jimmy for sharing an insightful presentation, and then we will wrap up. So over to you, Jimmy.
Thank you. So hopefully you all enjoyed the section today. I think the next few thoughts I'm going to share is kind of summarize or recap some of the things that we have discussed. As I said in the beginning, work is something you do, not a place you go anymore. So that is really bringing a lot of changes to organizations, to IT, on how business are going to manage, and how IT is going to manage the environment as well. So we talk about how COVID or the pandemic is changing how we worked. We are not going to go back to the normal that we were in before, right? We are working from home, working remotely, or in a hybrid approach. So we are still in this journey. We don't know what the next normal will be, what the end state will be. All we know is going to be remote, it's going to be mobile, it's going to be a mix of virtual and in-person events. It's going to be a mix of on-site and off-site or remote collaborations. In order to meet these requirements, meet this new normal, there are some business requirements that I think business leaders and IT leaders need to be thinking about. Right? Of course, we mentioned quite a number of times in our discussion, security is obviously very important. How do we make sure that the infrastructure and the devices are secure when when people are accessing data remotely and using devices remotely. How do we make sure the infrastructure and all the tools and that we are introducing to our employee and in the business is resilient to changes? So we in the past we talked about BCP plans and BCP plans, business continuity plans, are usually temporary. But in this pandemic, we see changes are actually permanent. So for long term. So it's not like the data center is down. We try to restore the data center within a short period of time and then back to the where we were before, right? This is like the data center is out, and we need to continue to be able to operate for a longer term. And then the efficiency. How do we make all these changes without giving a very large burden on the business, right? How do we reduce or control the total cost of ownership while we are making all these changes to our working model? And how do we enhance our worker experience while they are working from home and not able to collaborate as they were before? How do we help them to collaborate remotely and asynchronously? How do we keep all these changes agile, right? So when there are future changes we didn't foresee, how do we build in that agility so that the business can continue to work in case something that we don't expect to happen happened, right? And then also, how do we utilize AI both in the cloud and in our PCs to help making all this happen, right? AI is really a trend that is coming, and we are seeing a lot more business applications using AI. How do we leverage this technology to help our business to be more agile and more resilient? That would be something that business should be thinking about. And then with all those requirements, there are a few focus that we think companies should be building on, or a few capabilities that the company we see companies should be building, right? How employees access their applications and data remotely? How do IT manage those and manage the infrastructures and also manage their PCs remotely? How do enterprises provide the end-to-end security that is required to protect their data both on the infrastructure, on premises, off premises, and also at the employees' devices, and also for the data security for the data that is in transit? How do we maintain connectivity for employees, right? In the past, employees are mostly working from the office, so they are on their corporate network. Maintaining connectivity is easy. Now employees work from anywhere. How do we help employees to maintain that connectivity? And they can only collaborate with that connectivity. So right, so connectivity is important. And then we need to think about the collaboration tools. So what are the tools? The tools that probably the employees require to collaborate will be very different nowadays to the ones that they used to use in the office, where they can meet face to face and get into a conference room and run something together, right? And then, of course, moving to the cloud. Both Yasser and Jared talked about it earlier. So we see a lot of business moving to the cloud because of the pandemic, moving to the cloud to keep business running when employees are from home. But it's also important to think about how do they make their cloud strategy resilient? Maybe not relying on just one cloud vendor, or how do they build the cloud infrastructure so that they can make changes quickly in case something happens to the cloud. And there are some tools that they can leverage to build these capabilities, right? So to embrace the strategy of any device, anytime, anywhere. So allow employees to use any devices to do their work from anywhere they have to do it. Evaluate areas for process improvement, leveraging technologies, leveraging AI to help improve their business process. invest in a service, in a XaaS device as a service, or infrastructure as a service, software as a service models that help them to improve their agility, increase their subscription when business is needed, or decrease the subscription when they need to manage their costs. And then shift from a infrastructure management centric approach to a data management centric approach. As we move into this cloud world and remote world, we are relying a lot more on managing the data, because a lot of the infrastructure we are using third-party infrastructure. We are using the cloud infrastructure. We are using connectivity, 4G, 5G connectivity. We are using connectivity from home broadband. So a lot of these things is no longer within the corporate infrastructure. So we need to think about, instead of managing the infrastructure, how do we actually manage the data? The data is more important, right? So how do we make sure the data are secured, the data is resilient in this new normal? And then, yeah, security everywhere. So how do you design for security? How do you think? What's your security posture in your enterprise? How do you secure data in your data center and also on your devices, and also data in transit? What do you have a good security policy to enforce them? So those are the tools that we think the enterprises can leverage to adopt to this new normal and all these new business requirements. And Intel has a brand called Intel Repo. I don't know if you have heard about it. I hope you do. It's a platform that PC platform they build for the enterprises. And with this Intel Repo platform, we focus on a few things that we think that is relevant to the new normal, even more than in the past. With Intel Repo, we focus on giving the right performance to the enterprise applications. Right? So this is not just performance of the processor. This is performance of connectivity. We give the different form factors of the PCs that can adapt to different work styles or digital experience. These are all part of the performance of the platform. And then we build security into the platform. We focus a lot on making the platform more secure. We have invested a lot in security technology that built into the hardware of the Repo platform. We have unique technology that protects the BIOS. We have unique technologies that help antivirus software to detect cryptoware, to detect ransomware. So we're building more security to make the business platform more relevant to the remote working reality today. And then as PCs are being used remotely, the management of the PC is also very important. So with the Intel Repo platform, we also put a lot of focus in how IT can be managing the PCs remotely. Even when the PC is outside of the infrastructure, even when the PC is power off, Intel Repo platform allows IT to be able to manage those remotely outside of the firewall. And then, of course, reliability and security is very important for business. We put a lot of focus into the stability of the Repo platform as well. We put in every Intel Repo PC go through rigorous testing, and we create deep partnership with our industry partners to make sure those PCs reliable and stable and has reached our enterprise customers. So thank you for the time today. I hope that was helpful for you guys.
Thank you, Jimmy. Maybe you can just stop sharing the slides now, and we can have all the panelists in the center. Thanks, Jimmy, for that insightful session. I think very valid points around how the future of workplace is evolving and some of the essential technologies that are required. Really talked about some of them, and it's really good to hear about where this is all heading. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your insights and examples and joining me for this panel. It was a real pleasure to host all of you for this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's all we have for our attendees today. That's all we have. We hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Future of Workplace. We hope we'll come back again with more such interesting interactions. But till then, thank you and goodbye.